The only way in which we were monetizing was what I call indirectly, right? Where AdSense and sponsorships. Those are two main giant buckets that a lot of creators, this is the only thing they do. And you want to know why, Igor? It's because they're terrified of having a sales conversation with their audience.
So what would you say, looking back on your entire journey up until this point, if you could go back in time and meet yourself just before you quit your day job and kind of have a quick 90-second conversation with yourself, what would be the 3 things that you tell yourself?
Man, I mean, it would 100% be take list building more seriously. Like that would have been one of the first things, because back in the day, monetizing through our own revenue streams, like products that we can owned, right, was not even on our radar. I mean, like, yeah, maybe merch, shirts and all this stuff, but like, it was never really on our radar to like, oh, maybe one day there's other stuff that maybe we may want to provide, coaching courses, digital products, this type of stuff, info products, essentially. The only way in which we were monetizing was what I call indirectly, right? Where AdSense and sponsorships. Those are two main giant buckets that a lot of creators, this is the only thing they do. And you want to know why, Igor? It's because they're terrified of having a sales conversation with their audience. They just don't want to ask them for money at all.
Yeah.
And this is a plight of a lot of creators because, and this is like YouTubers, TikTokers, Instagrammers, a lot of them, because they've built large social followings, they haven't had the need to have a sales conversation. But it takes me kind of sitting them down and realizing and telling them like, look, you're actually not serving your audience by not offering some of these other things. Yeah, you're serving them with sponsorships, telling them about products and stuff that they may not have heard of. And that's great. But like, there's other things that you could potentially offer them directly that also solve their problems, right? And so this is oftentimes when people, in fact, I just had a public coaching call that I released with a creator who was experiencing this challenge, is that they actually had, they were struggling with whether to even do sponsorships because they had their own digital products and courses and stuff like that. And they're like, well, if I talk about sponsors, it's going to take away from my stuff. Like, I'm not gonna be able to plug my stuff. Why would I do that? I'd rather make the money myself, right? And I say like, no. You're missing the boat here. It has to be audience first. It has to be customer first. You can serve them with both your products and sponsorships and affiliates, right? Because there's lots of stuff that you're not going to sell. There's lots of stuff that you're not going to make because it's just not in the vertical. You'd never make that product. Let's just, and so your job is to go out there and figure out, I need to like forge some JVs with some of these other course creators or other services or other sponsors or whatever, because I'm never going to make that software tool. I'm never going to make that course or whatever. And so like, it actually takes you and then being like, hey, guess what, audience? I'm so excited. Check this thing out here too, because, like I talk about this a lot of like psychographic surveying. Like you need to actually understand like what is going on in your audience's life. If they, are asking them what jobs do they have? What's keeping them up at night? Are they married? Do they have kids? Like, like starting to get some really enriched data on like what is going on, because your audience is not a monolith. They're not like, you may think that they're one type of consumer or one type of purchaser. But until you do this type of surveying, you'll start to realize, oh, wow, actually there's some other brands that I could potentially pitch to get in front of my audience because I could help them in a way I didn't realize.
Yeah, I agree with you. The big point for me personally, and I guess it's a bias that I have because I see the same issue with people who build email lists and they refuse to pitch, is that oftentimes creators and list owners, I'm not sure if list owners are considered creators or whether it's like...
They are 100%. Newsletter operator is a creator. I think so.
So nearly all creators believe that the idea of selling or pitching and the idea of building a relationship are actually mutually exclusive. And I think that's the biggest misconception you can make. Over the years, in the last 10 years, I've been pitching in every email. I don't think I've sent out an email where I didn't have something that I was pitching, whether it's someone else's as an affiliate or my own. But with that, their relationship is there. And I'm not sure why. I guess it's the way people get brought up and they get conditioned that selling is bad or that salespeople are bad.
Yes.
When in
Yes.
reality, we're selling something all the time, whether it's product, whether it's ideas, whether it's ourselves to other people. I mean, I had to sell you on this podcast just for you to get on the podcast. So, I mean, at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, you're selling something. And I think it's just such a big mistake to not pitch your audience, especially if you've got good stuff. Because the best analogy for this that I've ever heard was, I don't recall who delivered it, but basically imagine that you've got a neighbor and your neighbor has cancer, and you just happen to have a machine or an injection that has a 75% chance curing their cancer. Now, how hard will you try and will you work to get their attention, to show them this device, machine, injection, whatever? Like, if they've tried chemo and didn't work, if they tried something else that didn't work, would you go and aggressively market to them? Yeah, you probably would. You probably would. In fact, what I don't understand is why people miss the whole, like, it happens to them, but they don't see it, where they themselves either get on social media or get into their inbox and they buy stuff. And it's not like that stuff just appears there. Someone's sending an email, someone's posting a video or a post, somebody's linking to a product, and we all go and we buy. So why are we so timid and afraid to do it ourselves, to just pitch?
Mm-hmm. I think it's a couple reasons. So there's two things there. The first is, like, if you actually think about, you're totally right when it comes to the upbringing thing, because I think that colors a lot of the reason of why people are the way they are and hesitant about this type of stuff. But I think I'm trying to remember. I think it was Daniel Priestley who gave this example, another kind of story that illustrates this that point, but slightly differently, which is like, imagine you are a coffee shop owner, right? And you have what you're selling is a cup of coffee, right? And there is someone coming in off the street and they want a cup of coffee. Okay. They don't have the cup of coffee, but what they do have is money, right? And so they come in, the business owner doesn't want the coffee, they want the money. The consumer wants the coffee, they don't want the money. So they exchange these two things, right? Here's your cup of coffee, here's the money. Both people are happy. And I think for some reason, people don't realize that, like, there's lots of people out there who are happy to part with their money in exchange for a solution, right? It's not like it's not like an unbalanced transaction here. Like, you are providing a service or something to someone and they're very happily giving you their money. And I think it's like, there's this ickiness related to like marketing or sales, because somehow it's like you're pushing something on someone and they don't want it. But that, like, the majority of the time, that's not how it is. It's like, they're desperate. They're hungry for this solution. And it takes you realizing that you need to get in front of them to tell you that you have this offer for them. And so I think a lot of it comes down to just getting comfortable with just having a simple sales conversation.
Yeah. And, it's funny. So you're absolutely spot on when you say that people are afraid to kind of push stuff on other people. But the reality is that can you really push something on someone else on the internet or on the screen of their, device? Because if they don't like it, they just shut you off.
Maybe the fear, Igor, comes from not believing in what you're selling. I think that might be it. Is like, if you, like, I know 100% certainty that if you take my course, you are going to make more money on sponsorships. Like, I literally have a 30-day, like, money, no questions asked, money back guarantee. You could go through the whole thing. I don't care. Like, here's your money back. If it didn't help you, here's your money. Right. And it's like, I can make those guarantees. I can say with my chest puffed out that I know with certainty that you will, because I have all this track record showing of all these people I've helped. And so it's like, if you don't have that level of comfort, whether it's your own product or you're selling someone else's product, if you're not comfortable with what you're selling, that's a problem. Find something else to sell. And I think your problems will be solved if you, like, believe in your core that this thing that you're selling is worthwhile.
Yeah. And I would like to add to that I think not having the confidence in the product you sell is also telling about not having confidence in themselves. Because I've seen it both ways. I've seen people sell a really good product but have very low self-confidence. And I've seen people sell a shitty product with really high self-confidence. And I can tell you that the self-confidence was the defining factor. I've seen low self-confidence people struggling to sell a really good thing, and high self-confidence people selling a bad thing or a low quality thing with great success.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe the high confidence people selling crappy products, you got to watch out for them.
Well, that's like, I've just described half the industry. Anyway.
Yeah. Moving on.
Moving on. Look, we're coming on time, and I've really enjoyed this. And I'm actually, just as a personal note, I look forward to a point in time in the development of the industry where more opportunities for sponsorships will be available for list builders, because it seems right now it's more for the physical product side of things. To me, it seems like that. It might be a misconception. I might need to go through your course. But there's just a couple of people now in the game where it's you, it's Scott Olford, it's a couple of other people who are really pushing the message about newsletters, where newsletters are now becoming legitimate media where you can go and build your list. Because I was just interviewing another guy. His name is Dylan Bridger, who's building his list with newsletters. He's actually going to content newsletters and paying them a sponsorship fee to place his lead magnet into the thing. And
Dylan is he's done some copywriting for me, so I'm good friends with Dylan.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see the industry wake up to the opportunity that is presented with content newsletters, because to me, there's nothing better as far as a subscriber on my list than somebody who's already a subscriber on someone else's list in the same category or niche. So I really look forward to that. Now, although I know you've already done the shameless plug, here's another opportunity. So if somebody wants to work with you, if somebody wants to learn more about how they can get more sponsorships, maybe they are a sponsor, they want to get in front of more audiences, maybe they just like the sound of your voice, where can they go to find out more about what you do?
Well, my voice is pretty sultry, so if that's the reason you want to join the newsletter, I totally understand. Creatorwizard.com/join. I share videos, articles all around this philosophy around sponsorship strategy. But probably the main reason you want to join is because I literally send you paid sponsorship opportunities for free. This is a brand saying, we have money, we want to pay you to talk about our brand. Click here and apply. I send that to you on a silver platter. So it's just creatorwizard.com/join. Also, if you want to hack my actually it's not funnel hacking, but if you want to see the sponsors that are sponsoring me do a little meta research, I'm making $15,000 a month on sponsorships, Igor. And this is relatively low lift. These are not physical products. These are creator economy companies who are trying to get in front of other creators. That's one of the reasons that they're sponsoring me. And so this is a switch, the sponsorship switch for my own business. It's very meta. I'm a sponsorship coach, but I have sponsorships. I didn't turn that on until less than a year ago. So this could be a very, very significant revenue stream that people should not ignore. Yeah, creatorwizard.com/join. And you didn't know this, but I'm going to break out the sound effects for that one.
Oh, yeah. I love it. I need one of those. How do you do it?
I got a Rodecaster. I have a Rodecaster, which has all these sound effects here. Yeah, and then once you join the list and you make a bunch of money, I'm going to give you the applause. So I've got.
Why can't I get one of these? I need one of these desperately.
Dude, get the Rodecaster. They have some other ones too. They have the Stream Deck. Yeah, but I'm a Rodecaster fan.
Okay, I wrote down Rodecaster. I'm not sure what that means, but I'll look into it.
Yes.
I've always dreamed of having.
I'll send you my affiliate link. Please
do it, because I'm in a desperate need of a cha-ching button. I now have to settle for text message alerts that notify me of sales, but I really wanted one of these cha-ching, cha-ching.
Yes, exactly.
It's really powerful conditioning. By the way, before we wrap up, this is a lesson that I learned from Dan Kennedy, who I consider to be my all-time mentor, although I never got to speak to him personally, never got to interview him on the podcast, never went to any of his events, but he's definitely a big influence on my life. And he mentioned something really cool. He said, everything is conditioning. If you think about it for a second, everything you say, everything you do, everything that happens to you, every which way you respond to events in your life is conditioning. And I actually noticed that based on how myself and my wife communicate to our kids. Because, the way we respond to their actions and the way we respond to their words, you got to be careful. It's like sometimes my daughter will approach me and be like, "Hey, Dad, can you buy me this used iPhone?" The answer, I'm like, "No." And she started concluding that, is it why? Because it's too expensive. And I was really, really careful about saying yes to that, because obviously it's not too expensive. But also, like, if you condition them and it's, oh, things are too expensive, then they don't go for them. They don't even ask the question, which is how I grew up. Like, things that were too expensive, I didn't even bother imagining myself owning them. So it's like, no, it's not because it's too expensive. It's because I don't think it's a wise decision. And then we go into discussion what is a good decision, and then we can even explore, what can she do to earn the money to go get it if she really wants it. So, and I had to do a lot of not training. You can't really train my wife. She refuses. She refuses to do any kind of coaching, any kind of training, any kind of spiritual work. Nothing. But I basically had to set boundaries and say, this is extremely important. I want you to be paying careful attention to what you're saying out loud, because everything you're going to say as their mother is conditioning. So you better be careful with your word choice and the way you choose to respond to different things. So anyway, when we talk, the reason I want the Rodecaster and the cha-ching sound is because it's just more conditioning that, hey, look, money's coming in all the time. And it took me years to make a shift from being somebody with a scarcity mindset that's sitting there and be like, I know it that money ain't going to come in today. I know I got lucky yesterday, but today it's over, to shifting my mindset to be one, okay, I'm waking up today. Let's see how much money is going to come in. It's a totally different vibe. It's a totally different approach to everything. You say yes to opportunities, you take on challenges, you set bigger goals as a result. And I find it so important. And I feel that many children, myself included, get kind of shortchanged at the start of their life with just bad condition.
100%. Thank you for sharing that story, man, because I had parents growing up, my dad in particular, whenever he was very big on this, is like anytime I ever wanted to do something that was dangerous or there was some risk involved or something like this, he never said no. But what he did was he made me sell it. He made me basically say, here's what I'm going to need to see from you for me to be able to say yes. And so for one example, I remember is I was in high school and I had to interview a professional of like someone that I wanted, like a career that I wanted to do. And I had to find someone in the industry and interview them for an essay basically. And I wanted to be a musician at the time. And so I was like, oh, I want to find a producer, like a music producer to try to interview, to like learn about it, whatever. And I found someone, but it required me to go by myself to San Francisco, to the city. And I was like 14 or 15 at this time. And I went up to my dad and said, Dad, can I do this? Like I found someone who will let me interview them, all this stuff. And he said, bring me the plan. And so I went down, I had to like print out, there was no Google Maps at the time. I think it was like MapQuest or something. So I had to like print out, I had to like draw a map of like how I was going to go out of BART, which is like the rapid transit system where I live in San Francisco area. I would like trace out the thing and like figure out how I was going to figure out the BART times, the train times, like all this stuff. I had to come and like present a plan of like when I was going to be home, how I was going to do it. Everything's organized. And he presented, he looked through it, he said, okay, you can do it. And so it was like, that was my upbringing. And I've definitely carried that into like me raising my own kids.
Love it. I have not even considered that as an answer. I'm totally. Please think. Is your dad still alive?
He is. Yeah.
Please thank him for me. I'm totally taking that on. Wow,
I love that. No, absolutely. Yeah, it's powerful, and it makes them have critical thinking. It's like, oh, okay, actually, I need to think a little bit more deeply about this thing that I want, and with the justification behind it, and why, and how I'm going to do it, and all. So I really, I think I didn't see it at the time. Right at the time, I was like annoyed. I was like, "Oh, come on!" Just like, right. But now, as a parent, I'm just like, yeah. It was like, it's funny. I was telling, my dad. So I was in scouting my whole life, and my dad was my scoutmaster, and I'm an Eagle Scout. And at the I am now a leader for my own kids in scouting, and like, it's so much work, dude. Like there's meetings and the parent committees and like all this stuff. Right. And I told my dad recently, like, the last couple of years, I was like, thank you. I just didn't realize how much work it was, like doing all this stuff for your kids growing up. And like, it took me 30 years basically to appreciate like all the things that we do for our kids. And hopefully later in life for our kids, they'll have the same, like thanks that they'll give us later in life. But yeah, it's just like, you just have to commit to it. And hopefully they turn out to be good humans.
Look, we can't predict, but sometimes they become good humans even in spite of their parents. So
yes,
that's kind of like what I feel with mine.
Very true. Very true. It's a good. My dad always, actually, on that point, my dad, I know we're like towards the end, we're just like bantering now, but like my dad describes that as the pendulum, where you can either choose to follow the same. It's like it swings back and forth between generations. You can either choose to be like your parents. Maybe you were abusive or they weren't, or you can choose to let it skip the generation and do the complete opposite of what your parents did or grandparents or whatever. And that's a choice. It's a choice you have.
It's a beautiful, beautiful statement. Most people don't recognize that, right? They think it's destiny. No, the choices you make today make your destiny tomorrow. Amazing thing you shared.
This got deep for a list building podcast, don't you think?
Like, we get deep sometimes. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
I mean, I'm Jewish. I'm used to having deep conversations with my rabbi, so it's all good.
I was raised Jewish, actually, too. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah. So these are the most fun conversations, anyway.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel that the reason I decided that I wanted to make a lot of money is so I can have more time to just have these conversations. Just stay up with a friend for like until 2 a.m. having an argument about kind of deep stuff, meaning of life and stuff like that. Anyway, creatorwizard.com/join to find out more about you, to work with you, to get free sponsorship deals that you apparently throw at people. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It's been so inspiring. And thank you for raising awareness for sponsorship deals and deal making, for more streams of income, for diversification, and a truly inspiring journey that I'm glad we spent this hour together. Thank you, man.
Absolutely, man. Anyone listening, go out there, get that bag.